Hi everybody, so today we're looking at respiration and the potential questions you could be getting in exams. So I have six main questions here, and look, we'll work our way through them there. You can see the first one there, provide the formula for respiration. So very similar to that of photosynthesis. And the equation is actually also very similar to that of photosynthesis, it's just reversed, okay, in which we have glucose here and oxygen being broken down to form H2O and carbon dioxide. Okay, that is the formula for aerobic respiration. Okay, because oxygen is being used, aerobic requiring oxygen. Now, you're asked to divide the events of glycolysis here. Okay, then to state the products of glycolysis. Okay, so let's get started with that. Stage one, so for glycolysis. So it is also known as an anaerobic stage, that occurs in the cytosol. Okay, so anaerobic meaning it doesn't require any oxygen to be present. Now, overall, this entire equation as such is aerobic because pat or stage two requires oxygen. So even though stage one doesn't require oxygen, stage two does, and it requires the products of stage one. So overall, this class is aerobic respiration. Anyhow, it is anaerobic stage that occurs in the cytosol. Now, what is actually happening here? Glucose, as we said up above here, okay, which is a 6-carbon molecule, is breaking down to form two 3-carbon molecules, okay, also known as pyruvic acid. Okay, so glucose is breaking down to form pyruvic acid, which is a 3-carbon molecule. There are two of them. In addition, ATP is also produced, so phosphorylation is taking place as well. Now, glycolysis doesn't give off a whole pile of energy, okay, because most of the energy is actually still within the bonds of the pyruvic acid. So the vast majority of energy is still over here in the pyruvic acid. Now, it's important to note, and you'll see this in exams as well, that pyruvic acid is also called pyruvate. So they're often referred to as pyruvate or pyruvic acid. You need to be familiar with both, particularly for higher level students. Okay, what happens next? Krebs cycle. Okay, so Krebs cycle is stage two essentially, and it is aerobic as I was saying early on. Okay, it relies on the products of stage one. Okay, that being pyruvic acid. Now, this is really important to note the difference between the locations for Krebs cycle and glycolysis. Glycolysis is anaerobic that takes place in the cytosol. Krebs cycle is aerobic that takes place in the mitochondria. Now, the biggest mistake I see students making in respiration when they're discussing it is this step here. It is not actually pyruvic acid that enters the mitochondria. That's really, really important, okay, to note. Pyruvic acid undergoes a one-step change before it gets to the to Krebs cycle. Okay, what happens there is it loses a carbon molecule, to a carbon atom, I should say, to form acetyl-CoA before it enters Krebs cycle. So this is the key point here that students make mistakes in all the time. The pyruvic acid, also known as pyruvate, loses carbon to form acetyl-CoA before it enters Krebs cycle. It forms carbon dioxide. That's where the carbon goes off to, forming carbon dioxide. So we're now going from something that was 3 carbons to something now that is 2 carbons, acetyl-CoA. So we're asked for the next step here, we're getting through them now, is state the fate of the products of Krebs cycle. Okay, so we have a couple of them there. Oh, I actually forgot to mention the products full stop for the Krebs cycle up above here, didn't I? So Krebs cycle at the very end produces ATP, CO2, H+, so that's protons, and NADH. Okay, so there's 4 products there of Krebs cycle that you need to know. You look, there is a diagram there and all that, and there's a few. They mention different amounts of ATP and CO2 and NADH. But if you look back at past exam papers, all they've ever asked in the past is to state the products. Okay, and they also might ask, as we have here in question 5, the fate of these products. So what happens to all of these here? Well, carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. That's fair enough. That's through the stomata. ATP does what it normally does, it releases energy. NADH goes to another step, which is known as the electron transport system. We'll discuss that now in a moment. And those protons there, they go off to form water, which we'll discuss in a moment as well, because it ties in very much with the electron transport system. So they're the products of the Krebs cycle, and this is the fate of the products for them. And you need to know all four of them. So let's discuss the electron transport system. So what actually happens? So the NADH, which is essentially an energy carrier and it contains energy, breaks down to produce high energy electrons. These high energy electrons go off to produce ATP, like we've normally seen. Okay, ADP plus P plus energy gives you ATP and a bit of water. Now, this is critical here. How does it all end? When is the finish line, essentially? So the low energy electrons now, because they've lost all their energy in making ATP, they react with oxygen gas. We know there's oxygen gas present because we inhale it. Okay, it's an aerobic process. Okay, and what happens is water is formed. So the low energy electrons react with oxygen gas to produce water. So when this reaction here takes place, when water is produced here, okay, this is the final step of the equation. So our oxygen gas here is the final electron acceptor. The protons are coming from over here, from one of the products of the Krebs cycle. The electrons, we just said it already, are coming from the NADH, been broken down. And oxygen is coming from us inhaling it, okay, because it's aerobic respiration. Now, there's a few additional questions that could be asked, so we'll go through a few of them there. So first one, name two products pyruvate forms under anaerobic conditions. So what happens to the pyruvate? Just in step one occurs, glycolysis occurs, and pyruvic acid or pyruvate is formed. What could happen then? Well, if it's under anaerobic conditions, Krebs cycle no longer takes place. Instead, all you need to know is lactic acid could form, that's forming cramps in your body, in your muscles, or ethanol could be produced, okay, which is important in the production of alcohol. Speaking about the production of alcohol, step 2, or question 2 I should say, says to define fermentation. You simply need to write down anaerobic respiration. That's all. Next one, and they like asking this one, what is ADP? Or they could ask you, what is ATP? Well, you can say similar things for both. ADP, first off, state what it is. It is adenosine diphosphate. That's what it's called. Adenosine diphosphate. It is a low energy molecule and it can form ATP if a phosphorylation reaction occurs. And you're going to write down very similar stuff for ATP now. So ATP is adenosine triphosphate. We know it's not we know it's not low energy. It's actually a high energy molecule. And what can happen to it? It can break down. It can lose its energy. It can give it off, and when it does, it forms ADP plus P. Okay, and then ends some energy. So there are the 4 additional questions that could be asked. I think I don't have any more. I don't. Okay, and so that concludes our lesson for respiration. Okay, so these are the 6 main questions, and it's worth going back over. And marking schemes are very good, are very generous, I should say, for these. So if you just get the gist of it, you're looking at getting the majority of the marks. Okay, everybody. So look, we'll leave it at that. All the best with respiration.